Good morning, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. Thought I'd make a video. It's been another week. We're going on to the beginning of a new week here in Southwest Michigan. Southwest Michigan is 8:46 in the morning here. It is June the 15th. 2025, we're the middle of the month, coming to, soon we'll be in the month of July. Yeah, next week there is our local library used book sale, the Book Nook, and I was emailed by the woman who runs the Book Nook if I would help set up the used bookstore. At first I was kind of like, kind of freaked about it, and then I thought about it and I thought I might as well. I've been doing it, setting up those used book sales for years. Why not just do it? Even though I don't volunteer anymore at the Book Nook, the library used bookstore. So yeah, so I'm sitting here waking up. Carol went to church, her church, and I am writing in my paper diary. I'm on page 506 this morning for my 2025 diary. I really haven't been reading in the mornings. I've been kind of just exhausted from what is going on in our country. Political assassinations, mass deportations, Trump declaring himself king, and just a terrible beginning of nuclear war in the Middle East, and Russia and Ukraine, and just all the horrible mess in Washington D.C. among Republicans, and it's just been a very depressing last week and exhausting. And so, but you have to get up and go through another day, and not knowing what tomorrow holds. But so I haven't been really reading in the mornings. I've just been kind of wandering my cell, and my wife and I are still reading through. We finished reading through the Epistle of Romans, and we started reading 1 Corinthians in the mornings. And so this morning we read chapters 5 and 6 of 1 Corinthians in the New Testament. And we read the Valley of Vision. We're still in the prophet of Isaiah at night. And we read last night chapter 55 of Isaiah. My wife said, "You remember what Isaiah 55 opens up with?" And I said, "No, I don't remember." And it says, chapter 55 of Isaiah, verse 1, "Ho, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no money, buy and eat. Come, buy and eat. Yes, come and buy wine and milk without money and without price. Why do you spend money for what is not bread, and your wages for what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me and eat what is good. Let your soul delight itself in abundance. Incline your ear and come to me. Hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, the sure mercies of David. Indeed, I have given him as a witness to the people, a leader and commander for the people. Surely you shall call a nation you do not know, nations who do not know you shall run to you, because the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, he has glorified you. So that's in Isaiah 55, verses 1 through 5. So, yeah, it reminds me of those verses in the last chapter of Revelations. Had almost the same words. It says, it says in Revelation 22, verse 12, "Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me to give everyone according to his work. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into the city. But outside are dogs and sorcerers, sexually immoral, murderers, idolaters, and whoever loves and practices a lie. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify to you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star. And the Spirit and the bride say, Come. And let him who hears say, Come. And let him who is thirst come. Whoever desires, let him take of the water of life freely." So I haven't been really reading in the mornings, except my wife and I in our devotions. But I did get out, if I'm going to read anything, Christ's Prayer Before His Passion, expository sermons on John 17, Volume 2 by Anthony Burgess, who was a 17th century English Puritan. But what I thought I would do in this video is show you the Princeton University Press books. As I mentioned, in May they had a 50% off sale. The Princeton University, how's it go? Princeton, can remember, Princeton University Press. So I ordered some books from Princeton. Like I said, there was a Yale. At the same time, there was a Yale 50% off sale. And I did see some books, but you got to draw a limit. It's like I've been mentioning in the videos. That one thing there's no limit to buying books with me. I could easily spend thousands and thousands of dollars on books. And in some ways, that's kind of obscene, because how many people in the world can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on books? Or even $100 on books? It's really a luxury. It's not a necessity. Books are not a necessity. Books are a luxury. Now, maybe if you're going to school, a university, a college, a trade school, you need books. And probably medical school or electrician or something, there are books that you need for to learn your skill or your profession or education. But beyond that, some books are just a luxury. And so I know it's a luxury. I mean, now with me, when I was working 20 years ago now, I saved money up and put it, and when I left the work world, I invested the money I had saved into a money account, and so I have accumulated money, and I can draw that money out anytime I want and just buy books. And plus I have an allowance. And now I'm going to be 73 years old, And I don't have any debts. We don't have any debts. I mean, everything, we drive old cars. We wear old clothes. We don't have an extra home up in a cabin somewhere up in Upper Michigan. We don't go on vacations. We don't go out and eat every night. I just wander in my cell and wait. Like I told my wife yesterday, you know, how do I spend my days? I'm preparing to die. That's it. I'm waiting to go to die. And, you know, maybe I got 20 years. Maybe not. Maybe people that we know, my wife knows that they're dying or they have cancer. But anyway, I'm just going to show, I'm rambling here. I'll show you the university press books I got. I got to clear my throat. When I wake up in the mornings, I always got all this crap in my throat. But I'm going to show you, so if I'm always coughing, it's because my throat is not clear. So I'm going to show you the books. The first book I saw that I had been looking at the Princeton University Press was this book, What Thunder Said, How the Wasteland, which is T.S. Eliot, The Wasteland, one of my favorite poems, book of poetry by T.S. Eliot. What the Thunder Said, How the Wasteland Made Poetry Modern by Jed Rasula. So yeah, I got this book, when T.S. Eliot published The Wasteland in 1922, it put him on the path to worldwide fame and the Nobel Prize. But, as Jed Rasula writes, quote, "The Wasteland is not only a poem, it names an event like a tornado or an earthquake. Its publication was watershed, marking a before and after. It was a poem that unequivocally declared that the ancient art of poetry had become modern." In What the Thunder Said, Rasula tells the story of how the wasteland changed poetry forever and how it served as a harbinger of modernist revolution in all the arts, from abstraction in visual art to tonality in music. At the same time, he traces the broader origins, reception, and influence of the poem, its roots in Wagnerism and French symbolism, and the way its strangely beguiling music continues to inspire readers. So that's what I got. Another book, so the other books is I got The Study, The Inner Life of Renaissance Libraries by Andrew, I cannot pronounce that last name, Hoody. Yeah, it's a really beautiful book, has incredible illustrations in it. With the advent of print in the 15th century, Europe's cultural elite assembled personal libraries as refugees from persecutions and pandemics. Andrew Hui tells the remarkable story of the Renaissance Studia, a little studio, and reveals how these spaces dedicated to self-cultivation became both a remedy and a poison for the soul. As you know, I have my own study, but it's really a beautiful book, and I love my study, and I love libraries, and so I got that book. And then a book I had been looking at for a couple of years. I think this came out in 2023. It was this book, The Soviet Century, an Archaeology of the Lost World. This is on, it says here, encyclopedic and richly detailed history of everyday life in Soviet Union. I'm always reading books on the Soviet Union, on Russian history, the Bolshevik, communism, and so I got this book. I have other books on, I collect books on Russia, and so I got this one by Karl Schlogel. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing all these names and titles, and you're going to have to forgive me for my stupidity, my lack of being educated. Like my granddaughter asked me, "When did you learn how to read, Papa?" And I said, "I never learned to read." I said, I have memorized. I've read so many words, I kind of basically know what they are. But I can't, if I was to read out loud, I can't read out loud. I would mispronounce all the words. I can't pronounce words. I don't know what they sound like. I know what they look like, but I don't know what they sound like. But I got the Soviet Century, an Archaeology of the Lost World by Karl Schlogel. Talking about Soviet Union, I got Citizen Marx, Republicanism and the Formation of Karl Marx, Social and Political Thought by Bruno, Leipold. Yeah, as I said, I've been reading that book, Capitalism and Its Critics, and I just read the chapter on Karl Marx and Engels on the Communist Manifesto, and I wanted to read more about Karl Marx, and this looked really interesting. The first book to offer a comprehensive exploration of Marx's relationship to republicanism, arguing that it's essential to understanding his thought. So I don't know anything about Karl Marx. I have a biography on Karl Marx. I have his book on capitalism, something analysis. So I got this. I also got this book. I have two other books by Paula Fredriksen, Ancient Christianities, the First 500 Years. She is a Jewish historian. She was a Catholic and she converted to Judaism. She's not a Christian. She doesn't believe in the Bible to be the Word of God. She doesn't believe in biblical Christianity. She's just a Jewish historian. And so when you read this book, you got to read it knowing that she doesn't believe in the Bible or in Jesus Christ or believe in the God of the Bible. But I just was interested in her take on it. Ancient Christianities, the first 500 years. Then I got Thoreau's Acts, Distraction, Discipline in the American Culture by Caleb Smith. This kind of looked interesting. It says in the back here how 19th century, quote, discipline of attention anticipated the contemporary concern with mindfulness and being spiritual but not religious. Today, we're driven to distraction, our attention overwhelmed by the many demands upon it, most of which emanate from our beeping and blinking digital devices. This may seem decidedly 20th century problem, but as Caleb Smith shows in his eloquently written meditative work, distraction was always a serious concern in American culture. 2 centuries ago, in Thoreau's Acts, Smith explores the strange, beautiful archives of 19th century attention revival, from a Protestant minister's warning against frivolous thoughts to Thoreau's reflections on wakefulness at the Walden Pond. Smith examines how Americans came to embrace attention, mindfulness, and other ways of being spiritual but not religious, and how older Christian ideas about temptation and spiritual devotion endure in our modern ideas about distraction and attention. So, yeah, that's one thing I'm always interested in, attention, distraction. Especially right now, I know I'm being distracted by what's going on in American politics. I know I'm being distracted by the media, the internet, TV, and that's why I try to eliminate those things. I don't watch TV. I do go on the internet, probably too much. I do have online diaries. I'm making a video here for BookTube. I do watch videos in YouTube, but I know that distraction is something that I have to deal with. So I got this, Thoreau's Acts. Also, there's a chapter in the book on capitalism and its critics on Adam Smith. So I got this book, Adam Smith, Reconsidered-History, Liberty, and the Foundation of Modern Politics, by Paul Sagar. I don't know much. I know I used to have a copy of Adam Smith's famous book, The Wealth of Nations, which I can't find, but I was kind of interested in I'm interested in American politics, and this is the foundations of politics. It says here in the back here, quoting somebody, quote, while Adam Smith has long been viewed as an economist or a moral philosopher, Adam Smith Reconsidered puts his politics front and center. This rich new reading will surely review and enliven the debate over Smith's place in the history of political thought. So that's why I got this. And lastly, the last book I got is I'm interested in American individualism. Where did that come from? And this is the roots of American individualism, political myth in the age of Jackson, by Alex Zakaras. You always hear about American individualism. I have heard for years. And so when I saw this book, I thought, oh, you know, that looks like something up my alley. So it says here in the back, quoting a book called Hellfire Nation, The Politics of Sin in American History by James A. Maroney. I have that book, Hellfire Nation. I have that downstairs in my lower level. But he says, quote, the roots of American individualism is a beautifully written, meticulously researched, boldly imagined tour de force. Alex Zakaras takes a fresh look at the American idea of individualism and charts both its power and its peril. Highly recommended. Also, there's another quote here by Stephen Mancini at Princeton University. Quote, a profound exploration of the peculiarity American myth of self-made man, independent, property, deeply hostile to government, trusting in the providential power of the free market. Zakaras lays bare the origins of ideas that still hold many Americans in thrall. A marvelous achievement. So it looks really, that. So these are kind of things I like to read. The Roots of American Individualism, Political Myth in the Age of Jackson by Alex Zakaras. Adam Smith, Reconsidered-History, Liberty, and the Foundations of a Modern Politics by Paula Sagar. Thoreau's Acts, Distraction and Discipline, American Culture by Caleb Smith. Ancient Christianities, the First 500 Years by a Jewish historian, not a Christian, by Paula Fredriksen. Citizen Marx, Republicanism and Formation, Karl Marx, Social and Political Thought by Bruno, Leipold. The Soviet Century-Archaeology of a Lost World by Karl Schlogel. Is this translated by Rodney Livingstone? This is a translation. The Study, The Inner Life of Renaissance Libraries by Andrew Hu. And lastly, What the Thunder Said, The Wasteland Made Poetry Modern by Rasula. So that's what I got from my Princeton University 50% off sale. And maybe someday I'll read them. Well, I have been more disciplined in my reading. I have been going through my nonfiction in the afternoons, and I do plan to read these, and they're on my to-be-read pile. So that's what I got. It's going on 28 minutes. The thing's going to shut down. So it's a new week in the last days of the American Empire. Rome is burning, and I'm sure this morning we're hearing chants, King Trump, in the churches today. May King Trump reign. Yeah, that guy who assassinated those senators in Minnesota is a Christian, claims to be a Christian. Isn't that kind of crazy? But hey. So yeah, I'm writing in my diary, and maybe if I can sit down and read. I finished that novel, The Ruins, The Shapes of the Ruins by that Colombian writer. I finished that, and I finished that memoir by Patrick White. I can't even remember the title is now. I can't remember, but I had been reading these short stories, Nest in the Bones stories by Antonio de Benedicto, translated from the Spanish by Martina Broner. So I've been reading that last night, and I'm starting reading The Suicides by Antonio de Benedicto, translated by Esther Allen. So I gotta sign off. Hope you have a good week. Pray for our nation. Come quickly, Lord Jesus. May the Lord bless. And until next time, bye.